Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Mark.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I need to do the usual intro. So it gives me the most pleasure ever
You always say that.
to introduce our first podcast pretty much from last year.
Yeah.
Which was social media for 2018.
It was, yeah.
So guess what we're going to do this year?
We're not very original, are we?
No.
But hopefully it's useful for everybody.
I think it will be. So welcome Alison to Brighton this time, or Hove actually.
Yeah, we're on tour today.
Rather than up in that London. So we're all both country bumpkins now.
Yeah.
Fully fledged.
We've left the city, haven't we?
You've went the whole hog and got a dog as well.
Did,
so yeah, all good stuff there. So last year, the episode we did together was so popular. And what happened was you were actually the most downloaded episode.
What?
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
There you go. So,
oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
So, what, on Christmas Day people were listening to social media trends?
just in general. So, yeah, catching up on last year.
Yeah.
But no, for you were beat Gary V, beat Norman Cook, beat, all these amazing other things that we did. So,
well, that's something to say,
congratulations.
isn't it? Should I change my LinkedIn profile?
The new Zoella.
More downloads than Fatboy Slim.
So yeah, incredible stuff. So it shows that everyone is still wanting to know about social media. They're still trying to figure the whole thing out.
Yeah.
They've not quite got their heads around it. Some people then think they have and then haven't. And I think also it's the fact that there's not one formula for this.
Yeah.
So it's just keeping going, it keeps changing, and I think you said to me you have like 15, 20, 30 minute conversations every day with people around, everything that's happening, everything that's changing, talking to your team. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we spend a lot of time just soaking up the news.
Yeah.
We've got 10 or so resources we go to. I'm in Facebook groups with other experts and also people at Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. So
do they exist?
They do exist.
Or is it all robots?
They exist, but they're very sly.
Yeah, you don't tend to see them very often.
Yeah. No, they're definitely trying to get better at hosting events, so do look out for events in London. Last year there was some fantastic free Instagram events in central London. Yeah. So you can always go to the Facebook business website, which is facebook.com/business. But yeah, I soak up all of the news. I spend the first 30 minutes of my day doing so, and then I pick the best news stories and send them to my network. Yeah. So I'm sort of the filter.
Yeah. Of what's news.
Important, what's fake news, and what's stuff to listen to, rather than there is a lot of noise about new apps, new tools. Everybody's moving to this, and actually, a lot of the time it is just noise. Yeah. So you've got to be careful. And
just before we get stuck into the trends and all the things that you've been busying yourself with last year to get together, what about Avocado Social in the last year then? What's the big things that's happened for you and that kind of stuff? Because you've had a good year, I think. Yeah,
last year was awesome. The business, which turned 4 in November, it's really starting to kind of grow and be what I was hoping for it to be, which is a really trusted network of great advisors. So we're growing the team, which is exciting. Yeah. And also we're getting some really interesting pieces of work coming through. And it's all been really exciting over the last year. And going into 2019, I'm pretty excited to be heading over to Dublin to Facebook HQ in a matter of weeks to come and listen to the latest, advice from them.
Zuckerberg's leaving drinks?
Well, there is a big drinks party planned, so who knows what they're going to announce.
Yeah. No way.
No way. So of course I'll be sharing that news with you as soon as I hear what it is.
Brilliant.
But
That'll be really
yeah,
exciting.
definitely looking to do more training, more events, and just keep spreading the social media word and the advice that we aim to do.
And we will finally get our act in gear and do more together, because we do once a year.
We did our September event at Propel. It went really well. We were both really pleased with
Good
it,
feedback.
weren't we? And there were some great people there, and we had a lot of fun doing it, didn't we?
Yeah, I think the year before I was so nervous because I don't think I'd charged anyone for a workshop before, so I just rocked up and did these free things or whatever. And you were thinking, God, there's a lot of people in the room that know their stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not that you know more than it, but can you add value, or can you tell them, you know, some tricks and tips and things to watch out for? So yeah, I think that was nerve-wracking, but once we'd done it once, then it was fine. You know, I enjoyed it a lot more.
And actually, often, you know, when you're talking to a room of 100, 150 people, there's always going to be people that know what you're talking about as well, but it's I guess trying to share as much new insight so that they can kind of at least take 2 or 3 nuggets away, and that's what I always aim to do. And give people those kind of moments, which I think we did as well.
I've never thought of that, or you know, how have I not done that before? Or and also, so the hope is that we'll do more countrywide and maybe a bit more international as well. So watch this space.
Definitely.
So that'll be good fun, and by saying that on tape, that'll
we have to do it now. We have to do it. We're bound to it. But yes, those. Well, hopefully we'll get ourselves sorted and make an announcement pretty soon, right?
And so I've got a speech with Propel, or the restaurant market or innovation lot, in January of this year. So I'll shamelessly be taking some of this advice and sharing it with the thousands, crediting you obviously. But I'm hearing this for the first time too. So all I've done is I've read the blog piece that you put out, which was really fantastic.
Oh, good.
And I think, you know, we'll put that in the show notes so that everyone can get a look at that. But yeah, so where's your head at for 2019? What are you thinking?
Yeah, 2018 sort of taught me a lot in terms of what everyone's excited about, particularly users, and as we know, I'm sure the number one platform everyone's talking about is Instagram. And interestingly, that's where we saw the most development last year. So even though the platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook are still bringing out new features and tools, it's Instagram that's getting the headlines. It's Instagram that everybody's talking about. When you walk around, you just see people gramming, doing stories, you know, setting up those shots. And
well, do you know, just on that point, there was a really funny tweet that went out on, and I think Gabby that works with us, you know, put out the shot, and it said something like, feeling so bad for all the Instagram influencers that are on, you know, 56 and whatever in New York, because it was like -5. And they were posing outside Macy's in like hardly any clothes. It's just like, you know, the struggle's real kind of thing, you know? And it was just like, oh my God. And there must have been 10 people just lined up in zebra crossings.
Really?
Like across, just trying to get that shot. And it's just going to be part of life, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean...
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's. I wonder whether there'll definitely be a point where it's hit fever pitch, and particularly with these kind of fake shots.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest trends I'm seeing coming up for next year is really kind of focusing on authenticity.
Yeah.
So a lot of influencers have become a bit more real in recent months and actually said, you know what, I didn't have a great Christmas day, or I was feeling really ill when I did this photo shoot, or I didn't actually like that product that much. Yeah. So I think we're starting to see a bit more realness come back onto Instagram, which I think is good.
I think it's good, and also we're sitting in the home of Zoella at the moment, so she's only upstairs, I think. So yeah, I've heard a lot from her this year about mental health and anxiety. Yeah. And she did a great podcast with Fern Cotton.
She did.
Which was really interesting, and yeah, it's sort of, it looks like this wonderful life, but actually she's got her own struggles too. So it was just interesting to hear that. For sure.
Definitely. And actually, I think it's really nice as well to see quite a few influencers this holiday, this Christmas, take a bit of a break. Yeah. So I think Delicious Ella took like a good 3 weeks off social media. So I think 2019 will really see a move towards authenticity. Yeah. But the other thing that I think is really exciting in terms of more of the practical and techie stuff, you know, I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to social media, Mark, it's the story integrations. So at the moment, there's quite a lot you can do with stories, from countdown stickers to question stickers to shopping tags. So you can buy products through stories now.
So I saw that with Manchester United last night.
Oh yeah.
So they interestingly put up their result against Newcastle, which they won, thank goodness. But then there was just the flash of buy the shirt,
Really?
$64.95, and it was all there. So I think, you're definitely going to see an awful lot more of that, and I'd like to see a lot more of people in our industry
for sure
doing that in food and drink and hospitality.
Yeah, because we were talking about that a bit at Propel, weren't we? The fact that gift cards, keep cups, recipe books, there's
sauces, pickles,
there's a lot of opportunity to actually start tagging products. And Instagram's seeing a huge interest and excitement around shopping through the platform. They're even rumoured to be hosting their own standalone shopping app, which may come out this year. So if you're in the mood to shop, rather than going to Instagram, you go to Instagram shopping. So that could come. But some of the developments we've seen over the last couple of months is integrations with more apps. So you can book a table using Open Table through a story. You can share a Spotify song. We're going to see more, like Eventbrite came out towards the end of last year. So if you're hosting an event, like a pop-up supper club, and you're hosting the tickets on Eventbrite, you can put an Eventbrite sticker into your stories now. Brilliant. So there's so much coming, and I just think this year will be the year that Instagram stories just absolutely booms. It was interesting, actually, at a conference early 2018, Facebook said at some point we're going to see stories overtake the feed.
Yes.
In terms of where the eyeballs are. That happened just before Christmas. So stories are now more watched than the newsfeed in Instagram. And that happened a lot quicker than they thought it would as well. So it just proves this hunger for stories.
Is there like a perfect setup for stories, or perfect amount? Or because it really puts me off when it's like dash at the top, and you just think, oh Christ, I've got to go through all the, so it's
500.
It's just like,
someone called them caterpillars to me the other day. I was like, I like that. I won't take that. 100 caterpillars. I mean, it's one of those kind of how long's a piece of string. I think it's just about being sensible. I'd always say if you can legitimately post lots of different things and they do feed into each other, then go for it. But if they're just random musings from around the day, then it just becomes a little boring.
Well, I think we talked about this even back in 2017 at the Propel thing, where it's Instagram stories.
Yeah.
So it's a story.
Yeah.
So where's it going? What's the content? What's going to happen to the characters? What's the setup? What's the premise? And I know it's maybe overthinking it a lot, but as you see, if it's, here's my muesli and here's this and here's my cat, you're just like, it's quite nice when they actually go somewhere, and also interrupting the content with maybe, because it's almost like a radio show that you trail maybe the next three to then see here's what's coming up to give that break.
Dot. Yeah, exactly.
There should be more of that, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. And, or even photo shoots, I think, lend themselves really well to stories, because you can sort of take different shots, but they have the same overall theme running throughout. And that's something I think we're going to see more of with brands in 2019, these kind of almost branding rules that they take to their stories, whether that's similar fonts, similar colours, similar styles of how the story's set up. Maybe they've created their own story gift stickers, and so they only use those. So there's quite a lot you can do to start to brand your stories. But what I find really useful is in Insights now, you can see how many people have swiped a story.
So came off of it. So
they've just swiped straight past it to get to the next person. So you can quickly determine now whether you're being boring or not.
That's depressing, isn't it? For the person. They'll take it quite hard.
Or will they just not care and carry on? I mean, look at the body coach. I think he's great and what he's done is amazing, but he must do like 50 stories a day.
Is it really? A lot with the baby at the moment as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but then his audience are very hungry for that. And probably he's got baby food book in the making.
In the offing. That's true. And what else do you think about integration? Who else do you think you're going to start seeing Deliveroo integration?
Potentially. I know.
Airbnb?
Yeah, Deliveroo, Airbnb, Uber.
Mm.
You know, go for a pizza and grab an Uber home.
Yeah.
Who knows? But there's a lot of these companies in talks with Instagram at the moment. So if Spotify have done it, then I'm sure there's room for others.
The Spotify one was really good, but it's at the moment asking me to keep signing in, which is just a bore.
Really?
And I'm like, I can't remember what my Instagram password is. And then you don't want to change it in case it mucks up everything else, so you end up not doing it. It's like, damn it.
It's quite funny. There's have you heard of Mrs. Hinch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just started following, not long ago, following her,
So she, I think, uses Spotify really well in her stories because she's sort of owned a few songs by like Drake and things and changed the words, and that's quite funny. But I think
so just for anyone listening, Mrs. Hinch.
Mrs. Hinch is a cleaning influencer who has a book coming out in spring, so I'm sure you'll hear much more about her. But she is really into cleaning and shares all of the products that she uses and all of her little tricks and hacks through Instagram. I think she's got over 1 million followers
What's
now.
interesting, I did a bit of poking around. So she got onto This Morning.
Yes.
And that's where it exploded.
Yeah.
However, see if you start looking pre that, the engagement wasn't there. She was only getting like, hundreds maybe, or a couple of thousand, or, it's still a lot.
Yeah.
But now,
It's
so
spiked.
weirdly, for people saying, it's only digital and other things don't work or not, that This Morning slot actually put her on the map.
Yeah.
And also the people that then would be watching that could be from a lower demographic because they're not working during the day.
Yeah.
Which then means that actually, for people who think that Instagram's only for the middle class, it's just like everyone, it's just completely demographic.
A lot of mums on maternity leave watching that.
Yeah.
But yes, I think...
Or dads.
Yeah, or dads, yes. And I think that's a really interesting point, Mark, because a lot of people sort of think social media is the quick fix to all their problems, but actually it's an integrated approach that works the best. I was talking to the lovely guy Michael that runs Symmetry Breakfast.
Oh yeah.
And he said that actually his followers only really started to spike once he got mentioned in BuzzFeed, Elle. He got actually picked up by the Evening Standard. So a lot of these, particularly the Evening Standard, more traditional media, they're what's also supporting your overall approach as well.
I think it's still a market mix. I think, being sort of drinking from the Gary V fountain and all that stuff for a while, but I think it's almost like being on stage at theatre where you overact to make the point. And I think by saying it's completely digital, I think then at least I'm really hoping this year, it will change people's mindset to spend 80% of their budget on digital, not just social, but digital. And I'm just really wanting people to start having Amazon shops and just getting connected, because I don't think having a restaurant and 4 walls only is enough anymore.
No.
You're going to have 3 or 4 businesses offer that as well.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of businesses that have kind of turned back 360 and gone to hosting events in their spaces and then marketing those through Instagram, etc. So actually, I think last year I was talking a lot about doing more in real life IRL events. And we've seen a lot of brands do that this year, which has been fantastic, I think, because it just gives you more collateral then to share in social media.
Definitely.
But talking about ads, Mark, actually, one of the things that I was thinking about when I was on the train heading to Brighton today was the fact that there still really aren't that many food and drink marketers investing in Facebook and Instagram ads.
Yeah.
And at the moment, particularly stories ads are some of the cheapest ads you can actually buy. So you run those through your Facebook page. So you go to Facebook Ads Manager and create story ads. And you can just select them to show on Instagram, or you can have them in Facebook stories now. And something else that will be coming this year is WhatsApp ads. So do you use WhatsApp, Mark?
You got me into WhatsApp.
Oh,
you were my only friend on WhatsApp for a long time, and now it's just for everything. We've got dad's groups on the thing. We've just been to Chessington for New Year with the kids. So we had a Shenanigans or something it was called, the group where it was all, and then we've just now booked a New Year thing, an Airbnb for next year.
Nice.
Through it, so yeah, I'm kind of constantly living on WhatsApp at the moment, you know. So yeah.
Do you ever use status?
No, I think I did something generic that would last me. I think I've said something like, be like spectacular, of course, or just that's it. But I think, you know, people will start exploring a lot more on that. Oh,
definitely. So this stat really surprised me that actually, of all the stories formats across Facebook-owned platforms, so Instagram stories, Facebook stories, WhatsApp status is the most used.
No.
And it's huge in Asia.
Okay.
So you can actually, next to your status, you can upload a photo that lasts there for 24 hours. So it works exactly the same as Facebook or Instagram stories. And so on your little profile picture, there's a plus button, and you can start, updating what you're doing in your day. Yeah. And that's more used than Instagram stories globally.
Well, interestingly, I guess to that point then, Instagram has less active monthly users than WhatsApp, right? So it's about a 200 million swing or something.
Yeah.
So that would make sense in a way, maybe.
I guess whenever I only found that stat out in like November, but whenever I tell people are just literally like, what?
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
But that's where the ads are coming. So they're not going to put the ads in the middle of our chat streams yet. Okay. Because a lot of feedback has said, oh, that's too weird. You know, these are my private chats I'm having with my wife or my mates. Yeah, not so private. And so feedback has suggested that actually putting them in status would be a lot more well received.
Appropriate. Yeah. I think, and also just nipping back to GIFs that you talked about. Every person listening has got to get a set of GIFs now.
Yeah.
Because, you know, images and things off Google Images that you're ripping or whatever it is you're doing, and memes and all these things, they're just so not even last year, like a few years ago. And I think there was the donut fries thing that we showed for Dunkin' Donuts when the donut fries, and it was the most searched GIF of the day.
Wow.
But it's something like 36 million searches a day or something like this, right? So from that perspective, it's like, I mean, we've even got one for the podcast. It's not that hard.
Yeah. I think Gabby, who works on this podcast, she made me one for Avocado Social. It took her about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's really easy. It doesn't cost.
No.
All you need to do is go to giphy.com, GIPHY, and set yourself up as a verified user. And then you can, I think it takes about 2 weeks to go through, and then you can start uploading stickers. But Aperol Spritz has some really nice ones.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. And also Benefit makeup, which is a bit off-brand here, but some really nice ones to look at.
But I think that's the point, is that the FMCG packaged goods or the distilleries or the brewers or whatever, they seem to have it a lot more switched on because they're thinking like an e-com brand. Whereas and also they're very sure they're targeting the millennial audience and all the rest of it, but I just don't think that's on people's lists of to do.
No.
And there's already been 10 things that we're hoping people will do. But I think the GIFs is such a good language, because those reaction GIFs, you look on your Facebook feed or anything. So also I think to be aware of is Giphy might not be getting pulled through into LinkedIn, let's say, or so you might want to spread out the GIF providers you go on, because the LinkedIn ones are so boring.
I haven't actually seen the LinkedIn ones.
So I was trying to like have a reaction to someone about something. I was thinking, oh, that'll be congratulations on a new job, also, and it was just dry as, and it was just I don't know if it's native or if they've got a provider that isn't that with it or whatever.
It's weird because Giphy.com is the provider for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So I'm wondering whether maybe they're just in talks with LinkedIn at the moment, or maybe LinkedIn are quite protective because
they don't want to be too frivolous.
Exactly.
And also I think I remember swearing in a post on LinkedIn.
Did you get called out and told to leave it for Facebook?
Well, no, it came up and it said something like, are you sure you want to post this because it's your business? I'm paraphrasing, but it's your business reason. I was like, fuck yeah. But it was just to make a point or whatever, I don't know. But yeah, so
that's
that
interesting.
worked out.
I guess I find LinkedIn quite interesting because they are trying so hard to keep up with all of the other platforms, but they've got to keep this professional at work image. So I wonder if, you know, they just feel if they started letting people put GIFs and memes on the platform, it wouldn't.
That may be too wide.
Yeah. They've got to have their USP, haven't they?
Yeah.
Otherwise, people, you know, I find a lot of people who are really interested in LinkedIn tend to be the much more corporate brands and also older executives as well.
Yeah.
At work, and you know, maybe Giphy would just completely put them off. But
Yeah. Well, I think also I absolutely trebled down on LinkedIn last year, and it paid off.
Yeah, you've been so active on LinkedIn.
Really went for it, because I saw that with Instagram. I was thinking it's actually quite hard to sort of get your followers up and get engaged, and also it's a wide range of followers. Whereas when it is business stuff, I'm trying not to do it on my personal Facebook that much to, you know, cheese off people going, oh god, years ago again, but trying to do it on the LinkedIn side of things. But it's really worked out brilliantly.
I think as well, like what you post on LinkedIn is interesting and is quite fun. And somebody said to me a while ago, a business owner just said, oh, you know, who uses LinkedIn anyway? Isn't it just boring? So I think you posting that completely different content kind of works quite well.
So I mean, at Disneyland the other week,
stuff
like that. It's just like,
t-shirts and things like that. But I've seen more people in the food and drink world using LinkedIn well this year, and particularly, you know, when Bill's redesigned, the ops director was posting, you know, first new look at the Greenwich Bills.
That's right. Yeah.
That was quite interesting. You know, the teams at various restaurants and hotel groups I follow have started to be a little bit more open about what their day-to-day life looks like.
And I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and I think I'd be kind of fascinated to see a lot more people being followed. You know, I was talking to a business owner and who actually started this particular food and drink brand the other day, and I was saying, have you got photos of you first starting? And they were like, yeah, I've got a few kicking around. They're saying, how good would it have been if you'd been followed around with a camera from date? And he was like, oh yeah, that'd have been amazing. And I was like, well, could we start now? Can we do it now? You know, for 17 grand a year, 20 grand a year, whatever, you get someone young and hungry that wants to do it. You know, I just think it would be amazing. But I was also disappointed on my followership for Instagram, which I'm trying to not get too obsessed about, but I do. But actually I was talking to someone the other day and he said a brilliant thing, and they work in social media too, and they said, I'm a coach, not a player. And I was like, I'm going to use that.
Yeah, I like that. I like
because
that.
it's sometimes what you do is you go, if they know about social media, why have they not got 300,000 people following them or whatever? And I was like, I'm a coach, not a player. I was like, yeah, I'm going to use that for sure.
Do you know what? I just try and say to everyone, don't get too hung up on followers, because
it's engagement, right?
So towards the end of last year, I definitely noticed a couple of people I'm following hemorrhaged tens of thousands of followers overnight because they bought them. Right. So there's a lot of people out there who have bought followers. So just be aware of that. And also, it doesn't mean everything, because it's really about quality over quantity now, particularly because you can buy followers or you can acquire them using, you know, dodgy tools.
Yeah, I've seen those
that,
for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the words I'm sort of banging around for 2019 is authenticity, which I've already mentioned today, but I think we're going to move a lot more towards genuine, real, meaningful interactions with your customers rather than just chasing numbers. So don't get too worried. I mean, I have less than 3,000 followers on Instagram, but I know that when I ask a question and I get 5 or 6 responses, they'll be from genuine people I really care about in business. So.
Well, I think I'm going to clip that bit and play it to myself at night as I'm crying myself to sleep with my not quite 1,400. Keeps going to the 1,300. Like,
just keep going. It took. I know I've mentioned him already, but not to be a bit obsessed. But Joe Wicks, the body coach, it took him like 6 years to build up his followership on Twitter before he even got noticed. So just keep going and remember. I like to, if there's people you kind of follow, just keep an eye on what they're followers are, because then you notice, like I follow this influencer who's a bit of a lifestyle influencer, you know, she's got a beautiful house, and she talks a lot about what she wears and what she eats and things like that.
Yeah.
And she lost about 200,000 followers before Christmas.
Insta just came in and cut them, just so these are bought, bang, done.
So Instagram is cracking down on these bots. Yeah. So just be really, really aware of that. I really think it's about providing content that offers value, which you do, Mark, to your followers. And
give away some
I guess
knowledge.
When you're coming up with your food and drink strategy for your business, it's really about thinking, well, how can we either entertain, like what Greg's do, entertain our followers?
Oh, man. You seen it all yesterday?
Yeah, with the sausage roll for vegans.
Right. So I nearly thought I was getting a taxi here, and I was going to stop at Greg's in my high street, and go and see if they had them.
Sorry,
to bring
you've
them
got
here.
a Greg's in your high street. You're so lucky.
Yeah, it's a bit of a manky high street. So they actually call it the Jeremy Kyle Mile.
Do they?
So it's Boundary Road. And,
That's better than where I used to live in Hackney, which was Murder Mile.
Oh, right, true. Well, no, it's all pound shops and Subways and things like that. But yeah, there's a Greg's there, so I was going to nip in and I was going to bring them along, but I just, didn't manage. So you saw the Apple boxes.
Yeah.
And the unveiling, and then I saw the Facebook ad first, and it was going round like an Apple phone. It's like 96 layers of pastry, vegan core, but just that orchestration of it all coming together was just, and the difference was all the posts about that yesterday. I mean, just millions. They owned Piers Morgan last night on Twitter, which was amazing. Also, there was some funny things said. There was this one guy just went, "That's the world effed then," kind of thing, and they're like, "It's just a sausage roll, mate." As they went back to him, which was amazing. But
so they must have had their war room set up, like 20 people sat on Twitter.
I think I posted about it, and within 7 minutes, they were back to me.
Wow.
It was just brilliant. So there was all that going on, but on top of that, if you look at a launch today, which was McDonald's are doing a vegetarian Happy Meal, which they've never done. No noise, hardly. So I heard a radio ad this morning on Radio X, came out, and I saw one post on Facebook, and that's pretty much it.
Oh.
And that's just, I mean, it might grow, but if you look at that, just on point effort, and the fact that it's taboo and people are going, you can't call it a sausage roll because it's vegan, all these debates, you're just like, absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They really did. Trending all day yesterday on Twitter.
And the other thing I was thinking about was we'll hopefully do another end of year podcast this year. I've already got that at the top of my list. It's just like the first thing to talk about.
I love it.
Amazing.
I mean, the timing was just amazing because there's it was the first day back at work for a lot of people yesterday. They just knew there wasn't really probably going to be much in the news because there generally isn't really this week. And it was just all very well orchestrated. I really, really enjoyed that.
Brilliant.
The other brand that I've been loving, as you know, I just constantly love them, is Pred.
Oh, yeah.
So again, they do some fantastic things about launches and announcements. So do you remember we had that bet on earlier in the year? Where are they going to launch their next veggie Pret?
Yes. I got it right, didn't I?
Yeah, and I owe you £100 Pret voucher, which I haven't forgotten about.
I ate enough Pret for a long time when I was there.
So they built it up, didn't they? They use stories, they use ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads to get people guessing. And obviously with a guessing game, you're asking for comments. Comments equals engagement. The algorithm rewards engagement. So perfectly orchestrated, and then when they revealed it was going to be in Manchester, all the Manchester masses just went crazy, and they just do some fantastic things. I also love their stories; just look so quality. It's a
produced ad.
Exactly.
They've not went for. They were doing it for a little while. They were doing this. No, it's not a manky shot, but it's just like the shot. You just see two cups and there's Tower Bridge in the background, and you're like, But
they did that for a bit, didn't they?
But I think they found their way pretty quickly.
And now, when they're doing a photo shoot, they're shooting for Instagram stories as well as all of their other assets, which is really clever because obviously it's a vertical dimension, which can be a bit
Yes.
tricky to get all of your photos fitting into that dimension without having any horrible strips along the top or bottom.
Yeah.
And so just clever little things like that.
Well, it's just effort versus return. You know, they're actually saying this is as important as what's going in the shop windows.
Yeah.
And that was always the thing with Brit. They always talked about the last 15%. So it was that executional bit, and it wasn't just, oh, we'll leave that off to the side, or that's for someone else to do, or that'll do. And Pret were never into that'll do marketing, which shows.
Yeah.
And you just see, just every day, time and time again, you see, hey, we're launching this, or someone's changed their cover photo, whatever it is, and it's clipped
Yeah.
on the mobile, and
Yeah.
you're just going, come on, guy,
Yeah.
would you not have looked at that? Would you not have checked it? Surely, if you're the head of social media, you've got the array of the most used phones there to see that it works there, to see that with what it's like. It's not hard. It's that last 15%.
It is, isn't
just
it?
making sure it's great.
And the other brand that I just love, who have really, again, thought about providing value to their customers, to their followers, Soho House. So
For sure.
particularly what they're doing with the farmhouse feed and also the Ned.
Still not been to the Ned.
Oh, it's
I need to get down
amazing.
there,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But the one I love from the Ned, which was a big one I used in a lot of talks last year, was their tips from the concierge. So every Monday they post 5 or 6 tips on Instagram stories. It's all branded in the Ned, fonts. It looks beautiful. And they pick 5 or 6 things to do in London that week. So if you're, coming to London, or even if you're just like in the area, and one of them is always something that's happening at the Ned, and the others are like, oh, this show's on at the V&A, or blah blah's playing at the O2. And it's just a really nice nod to kind of saying, we're in the heart of London, we have the authority on what the cool things to do are, and it's just a great bit of constant content that comes into your feed every Monday, so you sort of come to expect it. And I really like that kind of content.
Well, I think it's nice they've went for the sort of sandwich sale, if you like. They've tucked in something that's happening at the Ned, but they're providing other value rather than just going, ooh. And back to your point about the Greggs thing as well, that whole thing, there's no discount for the vegan sausage roll. Just thinking about that. And again, with
Full
the Ned,
price.
there's no discount, there's no nothing. It's just, the brand over sales. And I think, yesterday I was going to post, there was and it wasn't Coluccio's fault or anything, it's just that was the first one that I saw, and it was like, something like, get a meal for £1 or a penny, something, and I'm just going, really? I think we in the restaurant industry all complain about, oh, it's January and it's a bloodbath and it's 2 for 1 and it's discount and but we're the ones not changing our behaviour. We're going, oh, we'll just do it this January, and then, it's almost like being hooked on drugs or cigarettes or caffeine or whatever it is, and it's just like, oh, just one last pint or one last thing or whatever.
Burger night or whatever. Actually, I saw Honest Burgers just launch, every month.
Coming to Brighton.
Are they?
Yes.
Oh, they just
So
launched their sort of burger of the month. And they did it, no discount. Really awesome looking burger, like no apologies about the meat or anything like that. And I just thought that was very brave, but confident in a good way. And so, I agree with you. There's too much discounting and sort of repetitive content as well in social media. One of the brands I really like at the moment is a coffee shop in LA called Alfred.
Okay.
And they coined the term, or they claim to coin the term, but first coffee. So you've probably seen that hashtag used a lot. It's a GIF sticker, and it's theirs, or they claim to own it. And they do some beautiful stuff on stories. So I saw just such a simple post, which I'll share in the notes. Just saying their opening hours over Christmas and New Year, but in a beautifully branded, styled Instagram story.
Worth reading.
And I don't even live in LA, and I screenshotted it because I thought, oh, that might be useful.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, useful for a talk.
Yes, useful for a talk. But that's the sort of stuff I think we need to see more of. Particularly stuff that's going to provide people value. I love what Jamie Oliver's team does in social media and sharing things like lists of ingredients that you're going to need to buy to cook his meal that evening. That does well as an Instagram story, and actually I saw one they'd actually put screenshot this on it. So they're asking you just to screenshot. So we're going to see a lot more of that kind of
call to action.
Call to action for actually people to save things.
Yeah.
I wonder as well, I mean, this is just amusing, it's nothing that's come from Instagram, whether you'll be able to save a story in your collections like
That
you
would
can
be
save
helpful.
someone else's post.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're getting into a bit of weirdness because obviously stories only last for 24 hours unless they're saved to a highlight.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm talking
No.
a completely different language here to any of you.
Well, just for highlights, is it not worth just saying what that is?
Yeah, so highlights came out last year. You can now save your favourite stories that you have done to folders on your bio.
How many can you do? Is it limitless or?
Ooh, that's the question mark.
I'm sad because I was looking at it the other night and I was just wondering. I was like, I need to freshen mine up, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's an important point for
Yeah.
people that you mentioned at the 2018 Propel thing, where it's just probably once a month, once every couple of weeks.
Yeah, just have a little
whatever.
clear out. You know, I think I spoke to you maybe sort of, it was coming into autumn time.
Where you
We-
said, for God's sake, Mark, will you change your highlights? That's all crap that's on
No,
there.
I wasn't talking about yours, but I showed you a client of mine or an old client of mine's, and they were sort of talking about Wimbledon and
Yeah.
you know, it's got to be relevant for now. The thing that I find frustrating is when you drop into somebody's highlights, you're shown the oldest first.
Right.
And I actually think they should flip that, because there's people I follow and I know they've highlighted new stuff, and you have to go through all the old stuff to get to the
Get the
new.
new one.
So perhaps that's something we'll see.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd love, if we're talking about wish lists here, is an edit button or an undo button. So when you're creating a story, if your finger slips or you make a little mistake or you by mistake draw over your story before you've published, just a little undo edit button would be really
But
useful.
that's in most other similar applications, isn't it? So it wouldn't be that hard to do.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
No. So maybe that's something
Yeah.
we'll see this year as well.
Because the other thing I was just thinking about there with the stories and stuff was just we were talking about outdated. So again, Dad at the Disco stuff or whatever, where you see Christmas ads, and after Christmas is done,
Yeah.
and the amount, so you're sitting there going, why are you wasting money? Like the marketing manager or the agency or whichever it is has then just set it up for that time period, or they've set it up for a certain number of reach or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, clear it out.
Yeah.
You know, and because it's like in the old days where you saw a bus ad or a tube ad that still was a Christmas ad because they hadn't got a new person in to, book that
redo
ad
it.
space.
Yeah.
I think it looks bad on your brand.
Yeah.
So
I saw
was
a
over
few.
it,
Yeah, agree. I saw a few in January, very early January. I know we're still early January at the moment. But a few for January sales, advertising products that you then click through to and they were completely sold out. And that really annoys me.
There was another one I thought was getting a bargain the other night. I was on, I was thinking it was Ralph Lauren. Was it Paul Smith? Paul Smith. And it said this amazing shirt or jumper or whatever it was, and it said £0.
Oh.
Is because it was sold out.
Ah.
And I was just like, come on, people.
That's just disappointment.
Yeah, just get your discipline.
Yeah,
It did have a really
exactly.
cool BMX bike seat that was done in Paul Smith colours, which was quite cool.
Maybe they're planning to release some more, so they just want to keep that interest going. I don't know.
Yeah, when I saw £0, I was like, I want it.
Yes, an error.
I'm going to diet my way into whatever size you've got.
I love it. But yes, I think, just a bit more organisation around the ads and knowing when they're going live, when they're not. Just putting little calendar updates in your diary to say, check Facebook ads today or something like that can be very useful.
Oh, just another point actually. I was out at the Publicans, or it was the UK Hospitality sort of lunch. At Christmas, there's 1,300 people all get together, and it was Catherine Ryan that was the comedian.
Love
Just
Catherine
amazing.
Ryan.
Oh, she's amazing. She really stuck it to guys in general, really, which was quite fun to watch. So anyway, I was talking to someone before who's a investor, and he had said, he's talking about Chloe, Eat by Chloe, you know. So I was going, oh my God, it's amazing. He's going, well, you know, they're maybe not doing so well now and this and that. Sales wise, I think it's dropped off. Like, it really was a big deal when she came, and now it's kind of came down a little bit. So anyway, I was taking him through the Instagram grid, and I was going, this is beautiful, isn't it? And he was like, does that really work? Is that really a big thing? And I was like, well, this. So I was just, if you could talk to that a bit, because I thought that was such a big deal.
Definitely. I think, for sure. I know we've been talking a lot about stories today, but basically when somebody lands on your Instagram profile, they've got to be impressed in order to click that follow button, or even to open up the stories to see what you've been talking about recently. So I like to call it the 3-second audition. If somebody doesn't like what they see within 3 seconds, they're just going to click away. So you've got to make sure that your shop window, your last 9 posts on Instagram, look appealing enough for somebody to want to learn a bit more about you. And you're absolutely right, curating your grid works an absolute treat. So I use an app called Plannerly. There are others out there called Later and Mosaico, or you can just do it in Photoshop. But selecting your weekly Instagram content and then rearranging it or sticking to certain themes works really well. So that was kind of the biggest change I made to Avocado Social's Instagram in 2018. So myself and Kerry, my colleague, worked a bit more on sort of our overall brand on Instagram. You know, we pick fonts, colours, we select images that resonate with us, but also are green, because green is the brand colour. So just by changing the way that we were approaching Instagram and curating that grid, we've doubled our followers in the last year. And we get a lot of, you know, qualitative comments from people rather than quantitative, saying, we love your feed looks lovely, you know, it's beautiful to look at. And that's what sort of attracts attention on Instagram as well.
I'm also a real sucker for people that take the time to put a white border round their image. That is quite nice. It's quite an old thing that people used to do for sure, but I just always thought that was a lovely, you know, just always think, oh, that's nice.
And there's so many apps out there to make this easier. You know, there's one I use called Pick Tap Go, which is quite nice for adding the same filter. The filters in Instagram itself are a bit done now. You know, everybody kind of has used them. What
was it again? What was it?
Clarendon. Clarendon is the most used because it's the first one you get to. So is the menu.
Is it second in?
First or second.
Is it?
It's up there. I think
after
it's first.
After original.
Obviously, you can flip them around if you want to. But I think they're all a bit done now. So Pick Tap Go has about 100 different filters you can put in. There are loads of apps out there. Over. I use Over, Canva. So many to mention.
Well, we can stick them in there.
Definitely.
Sure.
And we've done lots of blogs on Avocado Social's blog about kind of our favourite apps that we use regularly as well. I've also got a little nice handy flyer which I took a photo of from Facebook in my Instagram stories in tips, so you can see the top 10 recommended apps from Facebook in there as well.
Nice. Okay, so what next then?
So I think one of the things I wanted to talk about for sure today is the algorithms. So we talked a bit about them at Propel, didn't we?
It's quite funny. I've been going to present on social media a little bit, you know, without you, because it's quite nice having the tech and the creative or the industry or whatever, you know. And then when I get to that bit, I'm like, skip. Ask Alison when you see her.
So it is quite techy, but the algorithms essentially, if you don't know what the word means, it's the rules in which the platforms are built on. So it's what determines what we see in our news feeds. And I'm sure a lot of you listening will know this already, but there's still some people out there that don't know this, so I have to say it. I'm on a mission. The feeds aren't chronological anymore. So when you log into Facebook, Instagram, even Twitter, you're not seeing everything that's happening in chronological order. So what you're seeing is an algorithm-based feed based on what you like. So when I hear CEOs, even marketing directors say, you know, we've got 12,000 followers, so 12,000 people have seen our content, it still really surprises me that people believe that. You know, it's quite a small percentage of your followers will be seeing your content organically, so without ads. And that's because of the algorithms, because there's so many users in social media now that there's no way Facebook could show you everything that's happening in its newsfeed, and there's no way Instagram could. So, and plus they don't want to, because they want to make money from the platforms. So the algorithms now are very secret, top secret rules as to how they're built. They're different for every platform. So if you look at Twitter versus Instagram, for example, Twitter's far more rewarding to recent news. You know, it updates very, very quickly, but it is still algorithm based. In 2019, there will be an option to flip between whether you want to see algorithm based or real time based. So that would be quite handy for Twitter. But Instagram, last year, they actually announced for the first time pretty much how the platform, the algorithm works. And so much of it is down to your personal behaviour on Instagram. So if you direct message someone on Instagram, you're likely to then see them top of your newsfeed next time you log in. If you watch someone's stories regularly, their stories are always going to be the top of your newsfeed. If you comment on someone's post, chances are they'll be seeing your stuff next time, you'll be seeing their stuff next time. So what all of this means is essentially Instagram is really good for building a tribe of followers who are already interested in you, watching your stories, they're commenting on you anyway. So I'd really be focusing on loyalty through Instagram. How can you keep these people loyal? How can you get them to come in and visit you? How can you get them excited about your new sausage roll? As opposed to trying to acquire new. And how you acquire new customers is through ads, because that's where you can get very, very targeted, you know, even down to a 1 kilometre radius, as we've been looking at a lot with some of the campaigns we've been working on together.
Well, there was some nice stuff. I saw a sponsor story from a social media company down in Brighton, and I was flicking through the stories, and it basically came up and it said, it was quite cool, right? And I think this could be a trick restaurants could pull quite easily. And it basically said, you're seeing this ad because you like this, you live here, you do, and it just was like, whoa, what's
That's
this
cool.
Darren Brown stuff? You know,
I
it's
like that.
It was great.
That's
and it was really
cool.
knowing. So if you got your targeting right, you could then say, you've got this from us because you love you live in Hove, you love coffee, you love avocados, you cycle. Could be quite fun.
That
you know,
is
just,
really fun. Oh, I love that idea. Next time you see it, screenshot it.
I'll try and find it. I'll speak to them and get it,
But yeah, we saw some cool stuff last year from Starbucks and Pret that were targeting very localised areas, you know, saying we've got a new store launching or we've got a new drive-through or whatever it is. And I think it is really clever when you can target people in a very localised area, but also use an ad that's relevant to them.
Yeah, so I think there's a huge point here on content, and you know, people thinking that this all sounds hard enough. Actually, you shouldn't be doing one ad at all. You should be, it's hundreds, you know, and it should be, hey, what's up, Hove? Hey, Milton Keynes. Hey,
like
Wales.
Chili by the Sea
whatever,
today,
you know,
or
whatever you're trying to do. And I think, you know, a message I was getting, you know, through seeing, you know, various sort of digital leaders online and stuff. They were saying, however much content you're doing, it's still not enough.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like, crap.
It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah,
it
that's
really
a
is
lot
nuts.
to get your head around when probably your board don't believe in it.
Yeah,
already.
It's hard. But I mean, even I was looking at some ads that were ran last year by Airbnb, and they had actually used the same image, but they had just changed the text on top of the image to say the place name. To where they were targeting. So, for example, want to become an Airbnb host in London, San Francisco, LA, and they just simply changed that. So it isn't that much hard work in terms of just simply editing out a place name and changing the direction on the map. And Facebook are getting better at making that whole setup process easier. So I just set up an ads campaign for a client yesterday, and they are hosting an event in London, Belfast and Manchester. So we used the same image, but we simply changed the copy and also the place name on the image.
Yeah.
And there is a really handy button in Facebook ads called duplicate. So you set up one, you duplicate it, change the image, change the targeting on the map, and then you duplicate it again.
And also, I think, I mean, I've got a view on it, I don't know what yours is, in terms of, you know, people setting up ads and then splitting it between Facebook and Instagram. I'm not a fan. I think you should be going more, the language of Instagram's one thing for an ad, and the language of Facebook is another. I don't know what you're thinking on that.
It's a tough one actually, because Facebook's advice at the moment is actually run the ad everywhere,
Right.
and then hone in on where it's working.
Okay.
Because they're saying it's actually cheaper to run ads in places like Messenger or Marketplace and Instagram Stories than it is on the traditional newsfeed.
Yeah.
So they're saying set up the ad, run it for a week or so just learning, and then hone in on where it's working.
But what about the sizing though?
So they have a new automated tool
But can convert
that
it?
will convert it all.
Okay.
So
That's
it's cool.
not so bad. Because I was just miffed when people were doing it for Facebook or doing it for Insta and going back whichever way, and it just was clipping, it just didn't look like
or
the
the
thing.
one to watch out for is if you've used language like double tap this.
Yes.
Now obviously when you double tap something in Facebook nothing happens, but on Instagram it's a like.
Yeah.
So you've just got to be aware of what, if you're going to go down that route, you've just got to be aware. But I think I'm with you, Mark, in that I actually prefer just, well, it's hard. It depends on your budget. If you've got a nice big testing budget, then separate.
Yeah.
But if you're a little bit strapped, then I'd be a bit more, a bit like Facebook's advice, run it everywhere, see where it's working best, then hone in.
But then last night as well, so I was on Facebook, as you do, having a look, after Luther actually.
Oh yeah. Don't tell me anything, I haven't watched it yet.
That was just brilliant and scary and brilliant. So that was my last treat before going back to work. So having a muck around Facebook, having a look, and Waze was on it, come up as a Facebook ad, right? And it's saying, is your business in a location, here's what you need to do, starting from £2 you can advertise on Waze. And I was like,
that's clever.
Great.
Is Waze owned by Google, or if I just
know that.
they integrate with each other?
I don't know that. It might be.
Yeah.
But it seems to be the one that's the cooler kids are. Techies use Android as a massive sweeping generalisation, but so I think the cleverer, the smarter people are using that rather than Google Maps or whatever, But I just thought it was so clever, and it was like, and then you can serve up messages that then say, and there's all different ways to do your messages as well, which then say, you've been driving for 2 hours now.
Need a Costa coffee? There's a drive-through up the road.
Bingo. So I was just, my head was spinning with that last night. I was just like, this is brilliant.
There's so much
So
you
exciting.
can do with that.
And again, I was thinking about the integration point, as you were saying earlier on, could there be more of that? But yeah, I just thought it was superb.
Oh, wow.
Really clever.
My mind is blown.
Yeah. And then once then you could probably, because imagine it could interrupt the directions to do voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
For example.
And
that would be unbelievable.
I mean, we haven't really spoken about voice today. It's still a bit of a question mark in terms of what can you do at the moment? What will you be able to do? Yeah. But that's certainly just something to keep an eye on TechCrunch and watch the headlines to see how that develops. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be pretty pricey to advertise to start with. Yeah.
Well, for sure. Yeah. You'd have thought so.
Who knows? Watch the space from Google and Amazon.
Exciting. Oh, so on the algorithm stuff then, so the way I've been talking to people about it when they have been, what you're saying, I have 12,000 followers, therefore 12,000 people saw it. So what I'm thinking about is almost like email. I've been describing them like that, when you go, well, if you send out an email, you don't get 100% open rate, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh yeah, okay, we get 17 or 22 or 33, whatever it is these days. So I think that's a good thing for people to keep in their mind, in terms of how much to look at. And then the next part you were talking about was vertical video.
Yeah.
So a bit more on that. So I've just had this drilled into my brain since we did the Propel thing, and it was lean back versus lean forward, and or lean in, or whatever.
Facebook's been talking about video in 3 kind of ways. The first is on the go. So this is the really punchy content that people might be just flipping through Instagram and an ad pops up and it's a video and it's vertically shot. it's probably going to be about 6 seconds long, no longer. Maybe a little GIF, a boomerang, maybe some stop motion.
Yeah.
I've seen some really nice stop motion in the food and drink sector, particularly with recipe boxes.
Yes.
I think they kind of own the stop motion videos really
Packing
nicely.
and unpacking
Yeah,
and stuff.
exactly. Chopping, etc. So on the go, it works really well just for a little bit of awareness. Just, you're not necessarily pushing an action. You're just using it for branding, letting people know you exist. I think Pret's done quite a bit of that as well.
Yeah.
The second type of video that Facebook are talking about is called Lean In.
Yeah.
So this is video that kind of catches your eye and gets you excited, and you lean into your phone. I'm actually leaning forward right now to demonstrate.
But have you got an example of what's made you do that?
So a live video.
Oh, live, all right, yeah.
So whenever you see somebody going live,
a well-shot live video.
A well-shot live video.
Not someone's double chin or
yeah,
feet or something.
exactly. But you lean in to sort of almost hear it a little bit clearer, even though you've got your headphones on. But just to kind of see what's going on, or there's been a few really nice examples of 360 video, or just somebody talking to their phone in a well shot way.
Not up their nose.
Yeah, exactly. Or just something a little bit more inspiring, maybe it lasts a bit longer. I think Nike does it really well with some of their ads. Perhaps it's a bit more emotional. So you kind of almost thinking about it like a movie trailer.
Yeah.
Of course, you don't really want to be going more than about a minute. Otherwise, people just won't hang about unless it's a live.
Yeah.
So live video, people will watch for longer. I'd say about 5 minutes before people get bored and drop off. Obviously, depending on the content. And then the third type of video is what Facebook are coining lean back.
Yep.
Now, this type of content is actually where people would kind of position their phone and get comfortable.
Yeah.
So you probably would flip your phone
This is
to
where it goes
horizontal. YouTube, you flip your phone for YouTube.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an episodic piece of content, so it's something you're regularly and intentionally logging into Facebook to watch. And that one's harder to crack because it's obviously more expensive to shoot. It's something you probably want to script, think about a little bit more carefully. I saw a great example, which again is totally off sector, but Harvard University doing these Facebook weekly chats in looked like a staff room at Harvard University, but they'd put a Facebook logo in the background. And they were doing live weekly chats with different lecturers just to talk about okay, so what are you lecturing this week?
Brilliant.
What's been going on? And it was fantastic Facebook content for admissions to drive more admissions to university. So just really interesting ways of using this type of video. And I do think video, if you're not thinking about it, you really need to be. Yeah. Because, in sort of 5 years' time, less than that, all of Facebook will be video, all of Instagram will probably be video. So my advice would be think of something in the marketing calendar that's coming up in the next 3 months and pick that as your sort of video test. So a product launch, maybe an influencer's coming in to eat, maybe you're changing the menus, maybe you're launching a new location, perhaps it's, National Burger Day or whatever. So think about something that you can really use video at as an experiment. Yeah. And then when you're thinking about the video, think about different ways that you can chop it up for different platforms.
Yeah. Well, there's a paper that I can send out to people if they want to get in touch. Well, and it's available on the internet, but basically there's Gary Vaynerchuk's content playbook. So 86 slides of just, I think he calls it 86 slides of insanity, which is always kind of quite good. But basically it's 86 pages to say, right, you're about to film something, what do you do? So you've got the hero content, then you've got the trailers, then how do you cut that into an audio podcast, how do you cut that into this, how do you do the quote, memes, blah, 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 blah. So that's been just an eye-opener and a game changer for me. And I think half the thing is, I'm just waiting for the call where that brand is going to say, right, I'm ready to take content seriously.
Yeah.
And just and I think when the one person steps forward, I think the rest will come, because
Yeah.
they'll go, oh my god, I can't believe what Wagamama are doing, or Bills are doing, or whatever. And I haven't, apart from Greg's, really, I don't think I've seen that many brands out there just doing stuff that you're blown away with.
Yeah.
And it is the fashion brands, and it is the sportswear brands,
Yeah.
and it is. So, I'm hoping this year's the year that we'll catch up with that. But
yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I guess like the feedback we always hear is, oh my gosh, how do you have time for all of this?
Yeah, and budget. Yeah.
And budget. And, I think taking one almost like experimental marketing story and using that as your test, get freelancers in, get the experts in to help you, don't just put it all on one person, and really think about ways that you can use that content as evergreen content.
Yeah.
That will always feature in your ads. Maybe it could become something you use in store as well, and make the most out of that, because it is an investment in content. And that's one of the things I probably come across very often is brands who are just so threadbare on their content, and they're pushing the same burger image or the same beer on the bar image again and again.
Yeah.
And a really good way of getting around that is actually to approach influencer marketing as a content gathering exercise as well. And we've seen a lot of businesses do that in the past few months, and particularly if you can either incentivize your customers to do it, or actually enlist influencers to be your content creators, that could be a really easy way for you to gather a lot of content as well.
So I'm seeing quite a lot of people asking us about that. Do you think it was the right thing to do? Yes.
Yeah.
How do I go about it? What happens? So I think, in the past you've talked about Whaler.
Yes.
As a really good way to get people. It does cost money.
A cheaper one is Tribe.
Tribe's
as well.
a cheaper one, okay.
So Tribe's interesting because...
Spelt normally?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Tribe, you set a brief on the platform. So you say, we want pictures of our new spring menu in our restaurant. You put the brief up, no money is passed at this stage.
Yeah.
And then the influencers actually pick up the brief, go and do it, and then submit their photographs for you or videos. And then you log into the dashboard and you actually select the ones you want to use or you want to approve.
Yeah.
And then you pay for them individually.
Right.
So you're looking at like £200, £300.
Could be dangerous though, couldn't it?
Could
Some people
be.
could get the right hump.
Well,
I've just found a cockroach in my dinner.
yeah.
They're at their next visit, yeah.
I guess, but then that would ruin their reputation as an influencer,
true.
because no one would then ever use them again because
Yeah.
they've seen the way it could go.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a really interesting business, and lots of FMCG brands have used them to promote gin or ice creams or whatever it is. So I'll put some examples in the show notes as well. But I've met quite a few people who've been doing it completely organically as well. So you don't need a platform.
Yeah.
You just need Instagram. Do a bit of
some time,
research and some time. And actually I was talking to a Mexican restaurant who had a bit of an influencer program set up. So they had a number of influencers who were sort of given almost like a Nando's black card for the year. And in return, they were just asked to regularly visit and create content. So that could be something a little VIP influencer program you set up for 2019. Could work quite nicely. And pick influencers that take amazing photographs. They don't have to have huge followers, because at the end of the day you're using their content as well for your own purposes. So there's a few ways you can certainly utilise the masses and not just have a very burnt out marketing team or person.
And also I think it's your PR agency might be going to the people that they know rather than the people that are actually good. So I think it's just being mindful of that, and of course taking that list but if it seems to be the same one all the time, and then regional, start asking people regionally, who are the the big influencers down there. So and then also there's some rules about what you can and can't do, isn't there, as well, which is a bit tricky.
So if you're like specifically asking people to do a post, and you've blatantly said, we want you to visit us and take a picture of this and post it using this caption at this time, it's an ad.
Yeah.
Because you have commanded it.
Yeah.
Therefore, they have to put #ad in their caption, and it has to be visible. If you haven't done that, if you've just simply invited people along, it would be nice for you to join us at our new menu launch, it's a very grey area, because you haven't then actually physically asked them to create content.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's not an ad, and they don't have to say so. Now, some influencers, and I said earlier, we're moving towards authenticity.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of influencers would say, I don't know, the Corinthia invited me to this event. Mm-hmm. So they're being honest about they've been invited somewhere. They haven't just gone off their own back.
Yeah.
So I look at the style which the influencers use in their tone when you're doing that research.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware of whether they're going to say so, whether they're not.
Yeah.
Some influencers like Zoella, because they're so watched and scrutinised, will say, Cadbury's paid me, or Cadbury's have sponsored this post, but this chocolate is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're having to be extremely honest about everything.
There's still so many, there's a couple of ex-Love Island people and all that sort of stuff, and they're definitely not writing ad, and you're just going... And
do you remember that one with Naomi Campbell, where she actually copied and pasted what the PR had put in the email?
Oh, really?
Oh, it was awful. And she'd said, post at this time and just paste below, I love these trainers, or something like that. And she put the whole thing in her caption.
Authenticity.
Just
about the influencer side, I think the other thing as well, and which is driving me batty at the moment, and people had some different opinions on LinkedIn when I posted about this, but basically there was a couple of sort of model type ladies who were going in frequently to Manchester restaurants. Mm-hmm. They weren't being paid to be there, I don't think. It was a night out. They've got 300,000, 400,000 followers, and they're saying, hey, I'm so glad to be at restaurant. Nothing from the restaurant.
Oh, really?
Nothing. Zero for, in terms of days, months, weeks. So not even a like, not even a share, not even a, you're just going, Jesus.
Not even
Christ.
a like.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So then the second one was, there was the Rosewood Hotel in London, and the point I was trying to make was, Alicia Dixon was in there with her man, and she'd actually tagged Rosewood Hotel being there, and she's going to some charity event. Again, nothing.
Really?
No response, nothing, no share. So I understand the point that with these higher up hotels, you don't want to bother stars and da-da-da. But if someone's put up there that they are there and they're looking forward to this charity, there's a million ways that you can cut around that. To actually. And then the other surprising one is the Corinthia have went the other way in that they've done the TV series.
Yes.
But they haven't posted about it on the hardly ever.
Do you know what? I actually love the TV series.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm hoping to get Mr. Cox on.
And can I come and watch
Tom
live?
Kerridge. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, did you see it when he was doing the serviette? Oh,
I think he's
brilliant.
Wonderful. I love him.
Yeah, I thought there would be something on their Instagram about that, and I went on and I felt a bit disappointed that there wasn't. And also, I remember thinking, gosh, they should totally have a highlights reel just about Thomas and Thomas's tips or something.
You could follow him all day, every day.
Yeah, just see what he's up to around the hotel, day in the life of. Yeah, you just want to know a bit more about what's going on. Yeah. Down there.
I'm very, very hopeful that we'll get them on soon.
But do you think that it's a resource thing, or do you think they have meaningfully not engaged with Alicia Dixon?
Oh, so the Rosewood thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to call because they could be doing trouble guessing, and I get that for sure. But in this day and age,
I get it's that not like a private club, but the Rosewood.
It's not like you've went up to them in the lobby and said, can we have a selfie with you and we'll post it. They've actually said, we're here and we're doing this, and that
so gives you
sharing. Well, that gives you the legitimacy and the authority to interact with them or just even reshare.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be a big problem.
I quite like it's a bit different because it's not with celebrities, but Grind Coffee Shop, who are brilliant.
I just love them. Yeah, David's done a great job on the team there.
They've got a highlights reel and it's called like Spotted at Grind.
Yeah.
And so they'll pick influencers that have done selfies at Grind that week and they keep it up to date. So, you know, Rosewood could go down that sort of a route.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what you call it quite, but sort of, you know, what's been going on at Rosewood,
Just
and the Alicia Dixon post could easily go in there.
Go in there, but, you know, just drawing that line to say, you know, they've actually said I'm here, you know, rather than, because it struck me when Will I Am was on the Corinthia one, and I was thinking, is those type in that area they're wanting to be, you know, talked about.
Yeah.
But the Grind stuff's amazing because he's best pals with Marvin from like GLS.
Oh, really?
And Rochelle.
Oh, I didn't know
from the
that.
Saturdays.
Yeah.
And so David, who owns or runs, I think he owns it maybe, Grind, his feed himself, he's like this kind of like celebrity kind of playboy himself kind of thing, which is great. And it's always him, you know, out with them, and it was his stag night was on there, he's just got married, and congratulations Dave. So all that stuff, but yeah, brilliant. And their actual feed is just, and then getting that millennial pink.
Oh, yeah.
And getting
the neon signs.
And the asexual sort of cup. You don't know if it's a man or a woman or both or who cares. You know, it's everything to everyone.
Yeah,
I think they've just done such a really good
job. They've done it well, haven't they? And do look at their Instagram feed, it's a good one. Yeah, I guess we've talked quite a lot about influencers and also customers creating the content.
Yeah.
But the other one that I know you're sort of thinking about a lot at the moment, and I am too, is your employees.
Yes.
So going back to Pret, I've been following one of the recipe creators at Pret on Instagram, who's got a good few thousand followers now. So she created the gingerbread lady.
Well, I think there's
because there's the man.
There's a gender fluid version now, because you had Godfrey, and then whatever, they've taken some feedback or they thought it's a good thing, or not to have a gingerbread man, they've just made it kind of asexual, I think. Or
I think so. And she's done a lot of the new kind of vegan brownies and things like that, so she talks about it on her Instagram. And I just think, we mentioned it earlier with the Bill's Ops director, but actually following people as opposed to the brands, I think we'll see a lot more of again for that authenticity.
And I think if you're uncomfortable with that, A, there's a bit of tough, but B, I think just find the people in your business that really want to do that.
Yeah.
But I know people are introverts as well and all the rest of it, but I think people want that story, and they want to know who
the inside track
CEO is, and they want it, and it can't be this faceless brand.
You look restaurant. I know he's a very well used CEO, but Richard Branson, for example, documents everything in social media. So if you follow him on LinkedIn, you see him doing his meetings at Virgin Galactic, and then the next day he's sort of on Necker Island, and then the next day he's doing this. So just following somebody's kind of day-to-day story, and that's a great way to launch a product or launch a new initiative, or just to share your purpose and your brand, you know, why you exist.
And I think also a lot of people will take inspiration from it, and if you are a fan of that brand, I'd want to know how Nike works day in, day out. I'd want to follow, you know, Billet Bills. I'd want, you know, all these kind of things. I think, you know, people would really give a damn about, and
because it's authentic, it's real. You know, people trust people more than they trust brands. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that going into 2019. And we wrote a blog post about it just before Christmas and featured John Lewis. So obviously they've rebranded John Lewis and Partners, and the partners have been very vocal throughout social media over the last couple of months. You know, what's it like working at John Lewis HQ? What's it like on the build up to Christmas at Waitrose? And so it's worked extremely well for the brand. And so I think just sharing a bit more about life, you know, in the kitchen, or what your staff get up to, you know, when the door's shut, you know, or recipe testing days, that kind of thing.
I mean, it's the number one phone call that we're getting right now, or weirdly through Instagram Messenger. I get contacted a lot now.
On that note,
go on.
they're going to pull messaging out of Instagram into its own app.
Or like Facebook Messenger?
Yeah, called Direct.
Oh.
So they're
Is that
testing
an
it.
exclusive?
It could be. I mean, I only found that out this morning. And they're testing it in some strange countries. I say strange because they usually test stuff in the US and the UK. They're testing it in South America.
Interesting.
So maybe they want to keep it on the DL, or maybe they're not quite sure if they're going to do it or not.
Or maybe like a WhatsApp or something hasn't happened there as much and they see an opportunity, or interesting.
Who knows?
Be first mover.
But yeah, sorry I interrupted you there.
No, it's fine.
You've
It
been
just
getting direct messages.
it's kind of funny just getting business requests through Instagram Messenger now. It's quite weird. So there's that, but also on top of that, we're the sort of most requested thing at the moment is how do I attract, recruit, and retain the best people? Because now it's just this bun fight for the best talent. Because obviously the B word and all these things in terms of, people not being able to come across or not being able to stay or whatever. That's a shortage anyway, but then you've got this perceived millennial generation that don't want to work that. That's a huge sweeping generalisation, but the number of CVs that are coming in is kind of starting to go down. The quality of those is not there either.
Isn't this the first time ever that 5 generations have been in the working world?
I don't know.
I'm sure I heard that stat this week.
Yeah.
And the younger generation, so Generation X, it is X, isn't it, or Z? I get so confused.
Y is millennial, and then Z is
the one
centennial.
Z.
And then you'll be Jenny after. We're going back to the start.
So Zs don't want to work for other people, they want to work for themselves.
Sure.
So it will be the biggest workforce working for themselves ever.
Yeah.
So that's interesting as well.
It's really tricky. But, but in terms of that, having and it all goes back round circle, in terms of having a great brand presence that is authentic and it's insightful and then that'll attract the best people.
Yeah.
And then once you get them in, I think it's then not that parent-child relationship anymore in terms of the working environment.
Collaborative.
But it's hard to get your head around that, and also you're going to see much younger people in the boardroom with much bigger ideas. They won't understand why their idea won't go through, all these kind of things. So I think there's about to be that sea change as well in terms of how everyone coexists.
Yeah, especially with tech as well. Yeah. With younger people completely embracing and living on social media because they've grown up with it.
Slack,
versus,
no inbox.
Yeah, versus people who've never had a social media profile and don't want one.
Yeah, and I don't get it. I mean, it was interesting. I mean, this was years ago. I went to see a speech by Microsoft. I think they were one before me or something, one of these Milton Keynes business things or something. Anyway, the guy was fabulous because I thought when it was Microsoft, I thought, here we go. But actually he was amazing, and he said, I'll predict in the next 5 years, or name a number of years, that basically email will be dead. So they're looking for other ways to, push messaging, and people just won't read more than the 140, 280 characters. Yeah. And that's it. You've got to get your point across by doing that. And then there's also this perception that they don't want to actually connect in real life. So how are you going to do that? So from the employee engagement standpoint, maybe it is just voice messages. They don't want to pick up the phone. When was the last time you were happy that someone called you? Yeah. Not so much. So there's just all these
minefields, yeah.
But I think social will help.
Oh yeah. I worked with a business last year who didn't do email. They just did Slack. Yeah. And I actually found it really refreshing. I know initially it might seem a bit overwhelming, all these notifications, but you can just plug into the channels that you are most interested by. And Microsoft are really pushing their kind of version of Slack. Right. They're pulling everything into one kind of hub.
Yeah.
I will remember what it's called.
So I'll stick it in the show notes.
Yeah. And I think Slack has really kind of rattled them because they shut down MSN Messenger, didn't they? And now they're kind of coming up with this community which is going to have all of your elements of Microsoft in one. I think a lot of it comes down to just listening and communicating with your workforce and finding out if there is that person that absolutely loves Instagram and lives for it and would love to be running the company Instagram or running their own page as an employee of yours, and then just kind of giving them the guidance and setting the groundwork for them to go and do that.
Well, I think a huge thing is, we talked about influencers earlier, you know, you've got this workforce of influencers that you can get, you can ignite them, you know, and mobilise that army. So I think there's quite a lot of, you know, more forward-thinking companies thinking that way. So if you've got 10,000 people, 4,000 people, 400 people, whatever, then a percentage of those, you know, and even if they do write, you know, I work here or whatever the hashtag is, to then say, I think that's okay, but they could talk about their day, but they could also talk about new things that are happening, their experiences,
recipe, cocktails that they're creating, you know, funny things that have happened that week, and just But
we've been doing employee engagement workshops lately, sort of around the different places, and all the companies we've been doing it with, it's quite funny when you're doing the workshop. So you go, maybe you've got like a work chart exercise, and it's, you know, how can we communicate better, let's say, and then everything you hear is them going, we'd like to create something like Facebook. So then they think about creating something that's like Facebook. It's like, just use Facebook, you know, just you know, or is maybe need this bit from Instagram or whatever, and it's like, all the stuff's there, you know, just get on board.
And also don't worry that Facebook is used personally, because if it's used personally, people are going to use it, you know. It's not like you're asking them to sign up to this brand new thing. They'll be on it anyway. And that's the same with WhatsApp. You know, I was talking to a school, I think, last year, and they were trying to think of ways that they could engage their parents and kind of keep their parents in the loop about a school trip that they were taking some of the kids on to Africa or something, like an expedition. And I said, why don't you use WhatsApp? And, you know, it kind of really terrified them. But I was like, well, everyone uses it anyway. Your parents are all on it anyway. You said you were on it in a dad's group. So why not, a teacher is kind of like the person that shares all the updates that week, and you can all just tap into that. So I think people are sort of worried about this. Oh no, that we can't use that because people use that for personal. Well, there's so much of a blur now. There's not really that much divide.
You can lock it off into groups and all
you can make things private. You can have, you know, pre-requests to join groups on LinkedIn or WhatsApp or Facebook. I run a private group on Facebook that I ask people to access by answering 3 questions. And if you don't answer the 3 questions, you're not allowed in.
Did I have to answer 3 questions?
No, I think you joined pre.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Yeah,
right,
you were an early adopter.
Just thinking about employee engagement then, and metrics and measurement, you know, because a lot of the ops people that kind of run this industry will be sort of into that. So what sort of metrics are you looking for successful social media engagement?
It's a tricky one because, like we were saying earlier, everybody kind of wants to chase those followers and those likes. But really, I'd be looking at some of the more tangible measurements, such as profile visits. How many people are actively going back to your bio and reading that, and then maybe clicking on your website? How many people are actually viewing your content regularly? So you can look at things like impressions per post, but then what you could do is work out an average impressions that you tend to get per post. And so if one has really spiked or one has really not done well, you can easily identify that. So it's always good to have your baselines. Also, you can look at things like engagement rates. So how many people are commenting, clicking, saving your Instagrams.
So you'll still be able to see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get to see how many people have saved a post, not necessarily who. But you can certainly see those numbers. So I'm seeing these numbers on the board are increasing as people are integrating that behaviour more into how they use Instagram. I save loads of stuff in my collections, and I've got little folders like influencers, recipes, home decor, and then like, you know, tips and advice or inspiration. So I think people are really kind of owning their experience a bit more.
Because I've not got into collections at all.
I love it. I'll show you mine after.
Okay, great. That's a good tip.
And then, I essentially would say come up with 4 or 5 metrics that you're going to measure on an ongoing basis, and stick to those. Don't get too overwhelmed and baffled by the huge amounts of data you can measure. If you're doing a lot of video, you want to look at video views, but also how many people are watching half your video or all of your video, which are things you can do on Facebook and YouTube. So I'd pick those key metrics, and then I'd spend 2019 recording those 5 metrics every month and looking for what works, what doesn't work, what types of posts really resonate with people, what types of stories really resonate with people. And then, after a good amount of learning, you can really start to see the patterns of what does work.
And whose responsibility is it then, if it's on the employee side?
If it's on the employee side, that's a little bit trickier because a lot of those metrics you can't get.
Yeah.
So on Instagram, if your employees are using a personal profile, they can only really look at their followers. That's it. So it is trickier.
Yeah.
On LinkedIn, you can see a bit more about who's been looking at your content, who's been looking at your profile.
Yeah.
So essentially, if you're looking to measure employee engagement, it's really just more about the awareness. So how many more connections are you making? It would be more anecdotal as well. So I did a bit of employee engagement training at the end of last year, and the CEO got back in touch and said they've had 2 leads since, so that have come through LinkedIn. So there's things like that you just need to be on the lookout for, and to get people sharing with you as well on a weekly basis. Have you seen a spike in views of your LinkedIn profile? Have you seen a spike in followers?
I don't think enough people A, are doing it, but actually then B, being obsessed about the metrics in the back end. And I think, so it's quite a lot to contend with then, I think, for 2019.
Yeah.
So you've got all your channels, but really we're honing into 4, maybe? So Twitter, Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, those are the top 4 I tend to focus on. YouTube, if you've already got an established YouTube, I think it's so hard to set one up from scratch and try and get that, creating tangible results for you. It's a lot of time and budget investment to create regular video, or you've just got to have those skills.
Well, and obviously paying for advertising on there as well. So that side of things. So you've got all that going on. Then more video. Then you're probably going to have a B2C channel, possibly a B2B channel. You're going to have an employee closed group. You might also have a employee potential channel, which is life at Google or life at Puma, or name your brand. Then you might have an army of internal and external influencers as well. So
a lot going
grown.
on.
It's grown even since talking last year. That's grown massively.
And that's why it's so important to have a strategy.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to do all of that all at one time with no kind of set, right, these are the goals, this is when we're going to review it, this is the metrics we're going to look at, this is exactly what we're going to do on Facebook, this is exactly what we're going to do on Twitter, then it's just going to be a massive mess, and your marketing team are going to be burnt out instantly. If you're listening to this and you are like a one-man band or a small team, obviously just pick a few of these things we've talked about today. Don't feel like you have to do them all. And that's something I'm commonly finding with chatting to people at events and workshops I run is, oh my gosh, how do I do it all? I don't have the time, I don't have the money. So I always say, right, pick 1 or 2 things you're going to do really well this year and just focus on doing those. So it would have to be a case of, where do you think you can make the most impact?
And then you've got a kind of structure on a sheet that you can maybe share.
I've got a strategy worksheet.
Yes. So that will work.
Yeah, which will work. Which I will share in the notes. But I do, regular consultation and training around social media strategy, and it's just something I think can be an absolute game changer in terms of approaching your marketing. If you would have a marketing strategy, so why not have a social media strategy, or how does your social media plug into that? And it's still surprising in 2018 going into 19 how many businesses don't have a social media strategy and are literally just doing it as a tick box exercise.
I think that's a huge one for this year. And then, so I'm conscious of time as well.
Always,
it always happens to us. I was just thinking about the smart investments for, from the brands. Who have you seen doing it well? How much you think you should budget for? These types of things, because we're getting asked that quite a lot.
Yeah, I think definitely a smart investment is advertising, because it's only going to get more expensive. And at the moment, you can get some amazing results on Facebook and Instagram. So particularly with video, you can be spending 1 pence per video view. That's some of the campaign costs I've seen over the last few months. We did a fun project together using Facebook and Instagram ads, particularly Instagram stories ads. And, we were paying pence for views on Instagram stories. So that's where I would start to experiment and invest budgets. And if you haven't been doing that already, now is definitely the time to explore what's available. And then obviously influencers. We talked a bit about how you can use influencers as your creative team as well, essentially. If you don't have big budgets to create fresh images, video, utilising influencers or employees is a great way of doing this. So that's the second area which I would think about investing in.
Well, I think one of the big things with the influencer side of things is don't just do it once.
Yeah,
this is what
pay for a post.
Yeah, it's just, or, we're doing an influencer night, like singular, and expecting that to change the world. It's like, just keep doing it, keep on with it,
2 a month, get people in, create this sort of advocacy program where you've got this VIP group. Who are the people you let them know, oh, by the way, we've got this deal on, or we've got this event coming up, or we've got, an amazing new menu. And they're the people, you're almost like PR team that you tap into.
Well, there was an amazing thing years ago. My first job was student marketing. And what happened was every month when you were still at uni, you got sent this pack through from NME and Loaded magazine and all these. And it basically then just set your challenges for the year.
Oh, nice.
And it was just, and then you just reported back. So it was like, right, we want to sell more independent newspaper, we want to sell more NME, we want to run a concert for NME that's, part of the NME tour. The people who get the most noise then win the gigs. And, you were trying to win it for Glasgow for it to go to Strathclyde Uni.
Right.
All these things. And I think, people being a little bit more organised like that.
Yeah.
Where you have got your influencers and you send out monthly projects or... or weekly, but it depends
rewards or whatever it is. I think people will begin to treat influencers like they do their employees, like look after them and listen to them and take feedback from them and don't treat them like a business transaction. Here's 50 quid for you to come and do a post. There's that we're moving so much away from that now and into your influencers are this kind of external team as part of your business. And I know I've mentioned the word authenticity a lot today, word of the year. But
already?
That will, I think so, that will come through from the posts. So, for example, if an influencer is treated well by you and is receiving this monthly pack and has been to all of your top events that year, they're going to talk more positively about you to their friends, to their followers, and genuinely will look like a fan because they will be.
Well, that's an interesting point, like having, like you would do for your employees or your top GMs, or you actually have a proper event, like a conference for influencers, and then you tell them about your brand. That's interesting.
Well, actually, that's something that's come around again, as many things do in marketing. So when I first started in the social media industry, I worked for a large agency, and one of our clients was Canon and also Nokia. And with both of them, we used to run influencer events where we'd invite, I remember the one for Nokia, we'd invite tech geniuses in to the agency so they could play around with the latest Nokia phones. And
play
so
Snake.
it's, yeah.
Or whatever.
Literally. Snake 2.
Snake 2, sorry.
That's something I think is a great idea. Which, so many hotels and restaurants can definitely tap into.
Just be a lot more effort and care into that rather than, just a press release.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
for sure.
Right. So I'm thinking that's been a long old chat.
It has, as usual.
But you've probably got loads more to say. We can get you back during the year and you can update us. Just any final thoughts then in terms of, you know, summing it up, or tips for people to get going, or anything like that?
I think one of the things that I would definitely say is do invest in your people, because you've probably got someone running your social media who maybe feels a bit alone, because things are changing so rapidly and they haven't necessarily got somebody to teach them. So something that I often hear from my events and our events is, oh gosh, there's nowhere to really go to get this sort of advice and help. So I would really encourage managers to think about their employees and invest in training and development in social media, because you know, it's not something necessarily that it's definitely not something we learn at school.
For sure.
And it's also new and it's constantly changing. If you can just invest in sending somebody along to a workshop or an evening event, or to get a bit of consultancy, that could really help them to kind of grow your social presence.
Because no one's speaking their language. And what I'm hearing so much from marketing directors is, we hire people under 25 to do all that. And it's like, well, they might have some skills in that, but they maybe don't have the marketing discipline or the industry knowledge, or see what plugs together.
The metrics, they can't pull it full circle to work out the ROI of your influencer campaign. All that. So I think definitely thinking about your people and maybe just asking them, you know, how can we support you better?
Nice. Alrighty. Well, I think we'll leave it there for now.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm sure there'll be more. Thanks so much for making the early trip today
as well.
A
pleasure, as always.
Along to Hove.
And look forward to more of the listening to the podcast in 2019.
Hopefully the two Thomases or the two Toms at some point as well. And we'll definitely get you back on. So
excellent.
Thanks so much.
Cool.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.